In this video, you are going to learn how to use describe. Describe is a function injected into your test files, just like it is. It comes from Mocha, and it's really fantastic. Essentially, it lets you group tests together. That makes it a lot easier to scan the test output. If I run our npm test command in the terminal, I can show you what I'm talking about. Right here, we get our tests. We have 7 tests, and currently they're all grouped together. It's really hard to look for the tests in the utils file, and it's impossible to find the tests for async add without scanning all of the text. What we're going to do is call describe. This is going to let us make groups of tests. We can give that group a name. It's going to make our test output much more readable. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and call describe. Describe takes 2 arguments, just like it. The first one is the name. I'm going to go ahead and use utils. This is going to be the describe block that contains all of the tests in the utils test file. Then I'm going to provide my function. This is the callback function. Inside of this function, we're going to be defining tests. Any test defined in here is going to be part of the utils block. That means we can take our existing tests, cut them out of the file, paste them in there, and we'll have a describe block called utils with all of the tests for this file. Down below, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to grab all of the tests, excluding the ones that are just playground tests where we play around with various expect functionality, and I'm going to paste them right in here. This is 4. One for add, async add, square, and async square. Now I'm going to save the file, and we can start up the test watch script from the terminal, and we can check out the output. npm run test-watch. The script starts. It's going to run through our tests, and right here we now have different output. We have a utils section, and under utils, indented, 2 spaces, we have all of the tests in that describe block. This makes reading and scanning your tests much easier. We can go ahead and do the same thing for the individual methods. Now in this case, we have 1 test per method, but if you have a lot of tests that are targeting a complex method, it's best to wrap that in its own describe block. We can nest describe blocks and tests in any way we like. For example, right here inside of utils, I can call describe again. We can pass a new description. I'm going to go ahead and use # followed by add. This is the common syntax for adding a describe block for a specific method. # followed by the method name. Then I can go ahead and provide that callback function, and I can take any tests I want to add into that group, cut them out, and paste them in. And then I can go ahead and save the file. This is going to rerun the test suite, and now we have test output that's even more scannable. It's super easy to find the utils add method tests because they're clearly labeled. Now you could go as crazy or as uncrazy with this as you want. There really is no hard and fast rule for how often to use describe to structure your tests. It's really up to you to figure out what makes sense given the amount of tests you have for a method or a file. In this case, we have quite a few tests in the file, so it definitely makes sense to add that utils block. And I just wanted to show you could nest them, so I added it for add as well. If I was writing this code, I probably wouldn't add a second layer of tests, but if I had more than 1 test per method, I definitely would add a second describe block. Now that we have this in place, I want you to create some describe blocks of your own over in the server test file. Right here, I'll show you exactly what I want you to do. We're going to create a root describe block called server. Then you're going to create describe blocks for both the root URL and for / users. We'll have get /. That's going to have the test case in there, some test case. Then alongside of /, we're going to have get / users, and that's going to have its own test case, some test case. Now the test cases are obviously already defined below. All you need to do is call describe 3 times to generate this structure. Put the text here in the string for the description, then you'll be done. So take a moment to knock that out. Call describe 3 times, add each test into the appropriate describe callback function. When you're done, go ahead and save the file to rerun it from the terminal and make sure everything shows up as it should. All right, hopefully you were able to call describe 3 times, creating the structure we have here. I'm going to call describe once right here. And this description is going to be for the root, so I'm going to call this one server. This is going to contain all of the tests in our server file. I can add my callback and we can move on. Next up, I am going to call describe again. This time, we're creating a describe block for tests that test the get/route. I'm going to add the callback function, and now we can simply take our test and copy it inside. I'm going to cut it out and paste it right inside of the describe callback. Add some semicolons, and we are on our way. Next up, we're going to go ahead and remove these comments since they're no longer needed, and we can call describe the third time. Right here, we're going to be calling describe, passing in as the description, get/users. We're going to have our callback function as always, and then we can copy and paste our test right inside. I'm going to grab the final test, cut it out, and move it inside. Awesome. With this in place, we are now done the challenge. We have a much better structure for our tests, and when we rerun the test suite by saving the file, we'll be able to see that over in the terminal. Right here, we have a much more scannable test suite. We can see our server tests right away. We can create groups of tests for each feature. Since we have static data right now, we really don't need more than one test per feature. But down the line, we will have multiple tests for each of our HTTP requests, so it's a good idea to get into that habit of creating describe blocks early. And that's it for this one. The next video is the last one for this section. We'll explore one more way we can test our Node applications, then we'll continue on creating real-world projects and actually putting this testing into practice. Stay tuned. I will see you